Welcome back to a Cincinnati People Conversation. A Cincinnati music story with national impact is also getting national recognition. PBS's King of Them All. It is the story of King Records, and it's just been nominated for an NAACP Image Award. And the man behind it all, the film's director, Yemi Oyediran, joins us now. Yemi, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Catherine. I'm really excited about this.
This has been a really long process for you. Let's start at the beginning. How long have you been working on this documentary?
I started working on this in 2016. I actually was scrolling through my phone and saw texts about how I started this process. And it started in the spring of 2016. It became a People's Liberty Project, which was a funding project that the Hale Foundation did for a couple of years, where they were trying to fund individual projects and see what would happen. And our project was one of them. And fast forward 10 years later, I'm still working on my People's Liberty Project.
Wow, 10 years. And then tell us about the process. Like, when did it come out to the public? When were people able to see it on PBS? And what has that recognition been like since then?
Well, we first released our first version in 2018, which was not the best version and wasn't really my vision. But, you know, filmmaking has been this is my side hustle. So this has kind of been a process of learning. So in the last 10 years, I've kind of learned how to become a filmmaker in front of Cincinnati. It wasn't until 2025, last year, that we finally finished the version that I was happy with, and the version we have now. And it's been great. It's been a really remarkable experience to be able to finally share this the way I originally envisioned when we started. And it's a reflection of the things that my team and I have learned in that process. So it's really exciting to have it out to the world and have people really checking it out.
What called you to this? What was it about King Records that made you say, I got to do a documentary on this?
That's a really good question. You know, I started this originally as a concert film because I'm a musician. I've been a jazz musician in Cincinnati for 30 years. I've played in every venue. I've backed everything and everyone. And along that process, you know, I came up with, when you're paying your dues, you're playing a lot of gigs with a lot of old timers who worked with James Brown, you know, and you'd hear these stories about James Brown still owes me money. And, you know, like being like 19, 20, you're like, how does James Brown owe you money? Like, you'd be like, what's that about? And you start finding these stories of all these people that hung out with James Brown on Short Vine. And you'd find out people who'd go down to like the clubs on 5th Street, or old stories about hanging out in the old Playboy Club with a lot of these guys. And these old timers would be telling these stories. And from hearing kind of a lot of the stuff from my teachers, it just kind of soaked into my soul. And it also became kind of a narrative and thread about Cincinnati music and Cincinnati history that kind of centralized for me. I've been a James Brown nerd since I was really, really young. I know every James Brown song, every recording. So I already knew about his connection to Cincinnati, but I didn't realize it was so entwined to our musical community. And I wanted to do a little bragging.
So anything surprise you in this process that you learned about King Records?
A lot of things surprised me, but it was actually more of the things I learned about Cincinnati that surprised me. Because in the process of this, I really wanted to center Cincinnati as the main character. And because of that, I ended up digging into deep dives of Cincinnati history that people don't really understand. You know, why we didn't get the subway was one of the things that surprised me. You know, a lot of people think that it's because of the size of the cars or all kinds of apocryphal stories. But in reality, it turned out because it was political. When we were creating our charter process that our city is founded on, the city charter, in the 20s, we had to walk away from the corruption of the previous administration, and the subway cars was very much part of that. But there's all these other things, you know, the removal of the Black community out of the West End, learning kind of the details about that. It wasn't for the highway, it was because we wanted more of a tax base. You know, learning kind of the intricate details as the why of Cincinnati history was the more surprising things and exciting at times.
You know, speaking of Cincinnati history, and we're in the midst of Black History Month, King Records was not just about music. It really furthered, you know, integration when that was not a popular thing at all in this city or in this country.
Absolutely. You know, in 1943, when King started, we were very much in a different place as a country. And that's one of the things I found remarkable about this story, and one of the things I wanted to center in this story is the integration or the collaboration between Black Americans and Jewish Americans. There's this kind of really remarkable and beautiful history amongst these two groups, and there's actually a really wonderful history amongst these two groups in Cincinnati history. And being able to kind of see individuals and talk to individual families and really understand the ethos that grounded those collaborations was remarkable, because you find that it's genuine and it's not just something that this generation or these group of people did, but it was really entwined to who they were as people and who their families are, and that was really remarkable to kind of get a different perspective on that.
That perspective piece really kind of weaves throughout your documentary. So for those who haven't seen it, it has archival footage. It has current, first person accounts. What was that like, trying to sift through all of that and put that together?
A lot of the rest of my team thinks that I'm crazy. My children have been tortured through this. I watched hours upon hours upon hours of footage. It's kind of more interesting the things that I left out than the things that I actually got put in, because I went to every archive house in the country. I knocked on the doors of all kinds of old timers about, can I get some 8mm footage, all kinds of stuff. And ended up, I went to auctions, and I have this stacks and stacks of reels, like 16mm and 8mm reels of, I would read somewhere that they have one shot of Cincinnati. So I'd go hunt down the reel, get a projector, watch it, and then find a way to digitally bring it into my computer. And that was kind of a really fun process of hunting it down and spending time with old timers and working with different mediums. But I really did kind of scour everywhere, whether it was the internet, whether it was individuals. I looked kind of everywhere to find as much imagery of Cincinnati as possible. And there's surprisingly a ton. Cincinnati is a very photogenic city.
Oh, absolutely.
As you know.
Yes.
It's gorgeous, but it's always been gorgeous. Crew Tower is always beautiful. And being able to see Crew Tower through the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, all through Cincinnati history was remarkable. And you find that our city is just absolutely beautiful at all times, at all eras. Maybe not the riverbanks, the banks
they're
were
currently beautiful. That took a little while.
Currently, we should be really, really proud of ourselves. But there's definitely some eras during 50s through the 70s where the riverbank was not so pretty. But for the most part, we have these really picturesque viewpoints of the river and different the river life and the river experiences. Something I really wanted to show in the film. I had lots of footage to be able to share that.
All right, let's talk about the NAACP Image Award. You'll find out if you win next week. Tell us about the award and how you found out.
I found out, actually, funny enough, watching the CBS morning show. They were doing a huge announcement for it, and I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that we had submitted for that. And quickly looked it up, and looked up the categories that we had submitted to, and kind of going through all of them, and then finally found where we were nominated. It was shocking. I definitely freaked out, which I definitely am not. I like to be cool and take things as they go, but this one was very exciting and felt very special. And yeah, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of like an amazing, shocking experience I didn't expect at all.
It is more so directing. This is a personal, it's not just for the overall documentary. This is for you in particular, Yemi. That's got to be exciting.
It is. It's also a little, it was shocking because I was familiar with the other projects that were nominated as well. And I love all of them. They're some of my favorite ones, some favorite docs of this year. They're very, very outstanding, talented directors. So there's a little bit of intimidation there. When your name is next to Questlove, it's just like, whoa, what is happening? But outside of that, it's just been a really, to be nominated with these projects that are on this level, it's just mind-blowing. And it's just been an experience of that I really don't fundamentally understand. I've never experienced anything like this, so I'm just taking it in stride. It's just what it is. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to learn more and meet some people, but I'm really proud that the story was able to resonate outside of Cincinnati well.
And so, as we wrap up, let's talk about that story. When people see this, and what do you want them to take away about King Records and about Cincinnati?
Wow. That is something I haven't really thought about too deeply. Although, I mean, I have, obviously, but there's a lot of things to take away. One of them is the power of Cincinnati. So often in Cincinnati, we have done a terrible job of championing our successes. We've done a terrible job of bragging about ourselves, which I think is hilarious. I argue, and I've been willing to fight to the death, that Cincinnati is the dopest city in America.
I agree.
Every other city
be on billboards, Yemi, the dopest city in America.
And it should be, because we're not necessarily the best, we're not the sexiest, but we are the dopest. You can come here and have excellent food, you get excellent concerts, excellent people. The drinking is amazing. Go to any bar in Cincinnati and you're automatically norm of Cincinnati. We have a very welcoming, loving, populace that really just likes to hang out and have a good time. Excellent place to raise children. I mean, there's just so many things and culturally, I just think there's so many things that are amazing about the city that we just don't beat our chests enough, We end up, I find a lot of people speaking ill of Cincinnati, which always shocks me. We have a tendency to kind of eat our own, which is very weird, because this city is remarkable and amazing. And there's all these things you don't know about Cincinnati that a lot of people didn't know about King Records before I did this project. And, it's an amazing story. And it's this remarkable impact that we had on the country and the world, really, that I don't think that we understand that we are capable of doing that still. We've done that, whether it's in polio and medicine. We've done that in education. You see UC's co-op program. You see, the Shure microphone that everybody uses. That was invented by a student at UC.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah. There's so many things that we have contributed to our world that are ubiquitous. And it's shocking to me how we don't champion it. We don't invest into doing it again. That's the one that I'm most shocked about. So if there's one thing that Cincinnati could make a change in, is to believe in Cincinnati, put money down in Cincinnati, put it all on the table, go all in on Cincinnati, because this project proves it. If you are able to take a project with somebody, first-time filmmaker, who doesn't know what he's doing and it just has a passion for a city and passion for the music that came out of it, is able to get recognized in the Wall Street Journal and Billboard magazine and get on PBS. These aren't small things, and I would like to pretend that I'm special, but I'm not. Cincinnati is the special one. All I just did is just shine a light on Cincinnati, and people were like, whoa, I'm not fancy. Cincinnati's fancy. Cincinnati's dope. I'm not as dope as Cincinnati. And if we just start focusing and putting our energies and supporting Cincinnati, putting our money where our mouth is, or our homes are, I think that we're going to see something remarkable come out of the city. And I think you'll start to notice that we'll change the world. The birth of hip hop is here, the birth of rock and roll, the birth of soul music. These are things that we hear still today. We are interacting with and passionate about. It came from Cincinnati, and there's lots of other things we can be passionate about in Cincinnati.
And so for those folks who want to see King of Them All, where can we find it?
It is available on PBS Passport. It is also sometimes available at local cinemaplexes here. I like to do secret showings, which is a good reminder to subscribe to the Esquire and Kenwood Theater's mailing list, because that'd be an opportunity to hear when I do random screenings. And then sometimes I also do screenings at friends' homes and all kinds of things. This is a Cincinnati project. I made it for Cincinnati, and it's available for anybody to watch at Cincinnati. All you have to do is hit me up, and I will find a way to get it in your hands.
That's incredible. Yemi Oyediran, director of King of Them All, the story of King Records, nominated for that NAACP Image Award. We will be following next week. Fingers crossed for the win. Yemi, thanks so much for joining us here in Cincinnati People.
Catherine, I really appreciate this. I'm a longtime fan of yours. I think you're amazing. And
you're
I'm
nice.
Really,
hey, listen, I'm not the one nominated for a national award here.
But lady, you've been nominated for lots of awards.
Thanks, Yemi.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate this.
you.